your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily,
gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. Come on, Sybok. Why didn't you jump in?
I was trying to comprehend the meaning of the words.
Welcome to another edition of Strange New Pod. I'm your Fleet Admiral and host, Julian Brown, alongside the best bridge crew this side of the planet of intergalactic peace. Commander Hawken is here and has all the information you could possibly need to roast a marshmallow. That's right. Throw up those devil horns, Hawk. Captain Giraffe is also here, wondering if she can add a third Romulan cosplay to her wardrobe. Or is it fourth? I don't know anymore. You have so many.
I don't know either.
Chris goes, I've never been mad at Julian until today. There's a first time for everything. And finally, Commander MC is here, and she's just getting started breaking neutral zone treaties all night long.
You know how I usually get fired? Tonight I quit.
Tonight she quits.
Tonight I quit.
I like it. I like it. It's a, yeah. Oh, someone already, see, this is going to be quotes all night long on the pod. Damon goes, it's a song, you green-blooded Vulcan. I love Bones. This week.
I don't know the song either, so I'm not going to say anything.
It's Cecily wanted to do those. What are they called? Like when you go in
rounds.
Round
robin.
Cecily was like, let's do rounds. I was like, let's do row your boat. I learned how to do it from Star Trek 5. Oh man. So yeah, if you haven't figured it out yet, if you're not on social media, if you live on Nimbus 3 and don't have access to technology, the but why has been answered. It is finally, after 3.5 years, I think. Yeah, something like that. The beacon has been lit. Star Trek 5 is upon us. We're going to deep dive the film's production, the film itself, why it's ranked among the worst, and also its lasting legacy, if it has one. But first, Hawk, it's been a little bit. We need to thank our amazing patron collective at the Ready Room level and above.
Indeed. So thank you to Simon Stager, Jeff Reeve, Mariah Gossett, Tallulah, Jen Stein, Tina Alexander, Joe Saporito, Noe Santos, Kang Wee, Takako Nagumo, Fernanda Nogales, SMK, Laura Linderman, Colin Davidson, Jesco, Michael Graham, Emily and Travis, Gildara, Cassie, Going Gaga for Grappling Greatness, Maggie Light, Tyrannokilicus, Wayne Ritz, Skona Bark, Sean, Jay Howard, Anna Yurdadon, Mahalani Uchiyama, Matt Harker, Joshua Lewis, Davey Willett, Tara Pollen, Slope 74, Rude Parakeet, Joshua Miller, Adam Sanders, Eris Spengen, Lanky Guy, Aaron Volke, Carl Angoli, Michael Kwan, TJ, Mayor, Caitlin, Elizabeth Dean, Jim McMahon, changing my name to Trip Up Julian, Sedano 317, Puka Hair, Three Fries Short, Kate Tippy, Tripping the Reed Alert over a Pineapple, Sean Manning, Congressional Baseball Fan, Chris Waterman, RHCB, and Martin Simpson.
Woo! Nice job, Hawk.
I have a question for Chris, because if he's a patron of other shows, do they he changes his name, so he changes for all the other shows? I
can tell you for a fact that it actually does work like that, because he's a patron of mine personally on YouTube, and so I have to change mine every time I post a new video.
That must be so confusing for people who don't know who we are.
I mean, but maybe not a lot of the other podcasts do live shout outs. So, but you never know. If they do, I'm proud of you. Good on you. Hawk, you read that? The whole time you were reading that, I was like, this is very like the announcer on Wheel of Fortune listing all the things that come with the prizes that like they win off of the wheel. I liked it.
There's
it was very good.
This weird instinct in that when I'm reading it, and that to delve into that, practiced voice.
Oh, apparently all of the other Patreons he's a member of just call him Riker Tattoo.
Well, there you go. See, problem solved. Problem solved. Speaking of, guys, as always, a big thank you to our amazing executive producer, Simon Stager, Commander Chris, the Chief Ernesto Castagna, Chris Waterman, and we have a new executive producer, Tara Paulin, yay, Tara.
Oh,
Yeah,
Tara.
Tara
Yay.
getting in the big time. Yeah. Keeping the strange new pod lights on, doing a lot better than the Enterprise A in Star Trek 5. I think our comms are pretty good. Like, there might be a glitch or two, but we're not leaving space dock without photon torpedoes like the Enterprise B. Anyway, let's get into some very quick news because we all really want to talk about this movie, right?
There's so much to say. There's so much to say.
We're still waiting, and it's almost 2024, but we're still waiting on a disco date. But we are going to start going full swing with our last days of disco festival planning with our good friends at the Duras Sisters. We're going to repost it and do an article, but get your submissions in if you're a podcast who's listening to us and want to take part in our Star Trek Discovery Festival. If we don't get a date soon, I think we're just going to pick dates with the Duras Sisters and start doing our full seasons 1 through 4 rewatch. So stay tuned, because if they're going to announce this thing and be like, by the way, in a month, that's going to be a shit ton of Discovery to try and get through, and it's not going to happen. So we'll have to pick a season to watch. So be prepared for disco watch-alongs. Giraffe, I think you're next on the news list, right? Hit it.
I don't know. I don't have the outline.
It says
Wait,
giraffe companion
You
news.
don't have the outline?
Yeah, no, I do not. I don't
Giraffe,
even know where it is.
This is a travesty. A travesty.
Usually I know where is the outline. Usually I know where it is. I've not, I don't know. I've lost habits. I don't know. Yay! So
Jesus Christ.
this Saturday, we are partnering again. I mean, partnering. We have a small part in a live stream with the Companion. The Companion is a super cool group of people speaking about all fandoms. And this Saturday they have a Thanksgiving live stream with Dr. Phlox himself, John Billingsley, and Michael Shanks. So I'm a huge Stargate fan also. He is responsible for me becoming an archaeologist, and especially somebody who specialized in ancient languages. So Michael Shanks from Stargate SG-1, they're gonna do this live stream. You can access this live stream for free through the links on our social media, for their page, for our Discord. And if you want to donate, please donate, because the money is going to Hollywood Food Coalition. And we know that in this time of holidays, you know, everybody's not as lucky as us here to share meals with our families. Not me, because I don't do Thanksgiving, but like, you know, you guys. Oh, the Canadians either. Do you?
Canadians do it earlier.
We already did ours.
Yep, it's done.
Whatever. Sorry.
And
was
I
trying to
also do it too.
breathe.
I'm American. Yeah.
So it's all gonna be about gratitude and fandom. So if you have time Saturday, please go get a ticket for free or donate some money and be in the live stream. And we're gonna do a small contribution, and we're gonna talk about our gratitude and for our fandom and what it brings to us. So if you want to contribute, please like drop a line in the chat about why are you thankful for your fandom. So I don't know, Stargate, Star Trek.
You do both.
Both.
Yeah.
Us, Strange New Pod, the collective.
Yep.
Do we have a fandom? Are we a fandom?
We definitely have a fandom. I mean, all these people are here to listen to us, and we have people who give us money, so I hope we have a fandom.
And yet again, like the Companion does this green room event where they raise money for a cause of the actor's choice. So you know, it's always good to get all together and donate some money.
Yeah.
Monies.
Did you already say if people want to contribute and do mailbag, you can even put your mailbag right now in the YouTube chat. Yep. And we'll read that. We only have like Draft said, like a very short amount of time, but if you put it in here, we'll read it. The embroidered custom Strange New Pod robes are coming. Promise. That's a straight up lie. Maybe I shouldn't lie. I don't know. For anyone that doesn't know, speaking of Daniel Jackson real quick, my beagle, who you've maybe seen once or twice on the show, is named after Daniel Jackson.
Yeah, I said like Michael Shanks, so just thinking that everybody knows that he's Daniel Jackson. I'm really sorry if that was not the case, but yeah.
My favorite Stargate character. Yep.
Hands down.
Yep. Let's see. Any more news? Anybody else have anything? No, good. Real quick before we get into Star Trek 5, I will say that we are partnered with our amazing friends at Heroes and Villains who just keep dropping like just amazing lines. Like listen, I always say like we're a Star Trek podcast, but their Star Wars shit is just like continues to impress the hell out of me. Their new Gorn, they have like the new Star Trek shirts that are like kind of like wanted posters for like the Gorn and like the Gumato. It's pretty dope. And like this shirt, and I keep saying it, I'm gonna get out to do it next week, but I have a really cool thing to show you guys from them. I got to go out into the woods to take a picture of it because it's really dope. But go on there, you get 20% off your first order using our code STRANGE. That's right. So get on there. Heroesandvillains.com, our good friends. I don't think I can.
All my bags.
All your bags.
Frozen villain.
I will.
My travel bag. I went to Palm Spring this weekend, and my travel bag was a Heroes and Villain bag.
Yeah.
They're really good. They're really good quality, to be honest.
Ooh, Colin says major crush on Major Carter for me. Yep.
Yay.
And if you didn't ship, I almost said shap. I don't know what that means. If you didn't ship Jack and Carter, then you got problems.
The show itself.
The show shipped the fuck out of them, right? Yeah.
If you start on Stargate, I'm going to speak for an hour.
Me too. Me too.
It's like, you remember that episode where they were like in a time loop, and the only thing that they have to be is like to like, no, not this one, to be true to their feeling, and that means that they were like, having feelings for each other to break the time. And
I still like the one.
I was a teenager. I was like, oh my god.
See, Star Trek 5 is one of these things where we can't wait to talk about it, but also we really don't want to.
And side note, Stargate was one of the few shows that would air in France at the same time in the US. So I actually watched it late 80s, 90s.
80s.
When like Star Trek aired like decades after they were aired in the US. So yeah, big Stargate fandom in Europe. Big.
Nice. I don't think I can procrastinate any longer. Let's
do this.
Let's do it. It is our review and deep dive into Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, directed by Bill Shatner.
When I said that to my husband, he was like, no way. It explains so much. I was like, yeah, it does, yeah.
I don't know if anybody after watching the movie had the bravery to watch the special features, but like there's a whole interview with him. There's a whole interview with him like sitting in front of Yosemite, just like poo-pooing about himself and like how amazing he is. And it is a hard watch.
Doesn't he talk about how like Kirk wanted to fuck the mountain?
Yeah, pretty much exactly that.
That's so Gene of him.
Yeah,
like that's Gene's vision right now, right here.
It was a very Gene Roddenberry style interview. Like basically,
it's a very Gene Roddenberry movie. To be honest.
Yeah. I'm just trying to remember the exact quote that I posted in answer to Giraffe, because she was live tweeting the whole thing. And
great thread, by the way.
Yeah, it was. It was an amazing thread.
Like I got like 500 like people start commenting on it, and I'm like, sorry. It created a lot of passion from people. A lot of reaction.
I just found it. I said, this movie is just the most weird-ass collection of shit. I really don't know if it's so much a movie as it is a bunch of Shatner's headcanons, half-remembered dreams, and fetishes thrown into a bag and fished out at random.
Yeah, I mean,
accurate,
very accurate. We're gonna start just like with the bad right away tonight. Listen, like this movie, and it's not really a big secret. I don't know how many people know it. I'm assuming you do, but this movie was already doomed before they even stepped foot on set for a variety of reasons. I have a whole list. We're gonna go through them. Our order tonight is gonna go Hawk, Giraffe, MC, followed by myself. We'll start with bullet point number 1 of 5, why this movie was doomed from pre-production onward. Biggest one, I think, honestly, it's widely known, right, that the 1988 WGA strike, which was, I think, the biggest before the one we just had a massive effect on the pre-production of the film as well as the filming schedule. I mean, listen, guys, this is all very relevant to us right now after what's happened over the past few months. Thoughts on the relevance of this to kind of current times and the effect that it had on this film, Hawk?
Yeah, from what I understand, that strike happened mainly was the main reason was had to do with a lot with television and that and syndication deals and that and basically where the money was going from it and that with the producers claiming like, syndication for certain shows wasn't going as well as they expected and they felt that they, that there should be a softening in percentages and that. Regardless, it definitely it impacted the film in that it cut in sharply into their production schedule, meaning like they only had X amount of weeks to actually get this filmed, done, and in the can. Relevance today, I mean, like if it was today, like they probably would have just shelved the whole thing.
I think they would have.
Yeah. But there seemed to be this weird, they were on a weird streak, since the motion picture and that, like, I don't think at the time there was any like movie franchise in that, beyond like beyond horror films or that reached like, 5 sequels, at that point, they were at that point, they were kind of reaching, I think they were reaching the singularity in that where it's like, it became more of a gag than anything else. I have to go to the Simpsons and that, with Star Trek, whatever, 20 and that. So very old. But yeah, that was definitely strike one against the film and that into what would be like, a production nightmare. And then like, it just the end result.
Yeah. Yeah. Real quick draft before you go. Tara writes directing, talking about Bill Shatner is for first officer characters. I agree with this, i.e. Jonathan Frakes.
I would also say that it's for chief engineers because let's not discount LeVar Burton.
Fair, absolutely fair. Draft, your thoughts on this?
I'm about the strike and the movie.
Yeah. And relevance to today.
Are we surprised? I mean, literally at the end, they don't remember Sam Kirk, and I'm like, I had like to double take at one point, being like, wait, they knew about him because he was in TOS, right? I was like. You see that like that script should have like gone through a few extra hands and taken a little bit more time and be worked on a little bit, but it's just that's why people strike, because that's what happens. Like with no writers, you get a script like this. So
Yep.
I don't know.
No, fair.
I don't have a lot of opinion about like.
No, that's fine. Well, it's hard to, right? Because it's something that happened a long ass time ago.
A long time ago. Yeah. That's what I was like.
Yeah. MC. Oh man.
Start every single thing I say this podcast with a resigned sigh. Just to warn y'all. I mean, we could see this with every single strike that happens, like with the one in 88, you have this movie come out. When the one in the early 2000s, I can't remember the exact year of it. That's when we got Heroes season 2, which which I guess wasn't a writer's strike, it was a Screen Actors Guild strike, but kind of same thing, crunching up the production. And now I have already obviously I have not seen the quality of the stuff that has come out, but as soon as like the Screen Actors Guild went off strike, like they were like the next day, it's like, okay, we're filming.
Yeah.
And with all of the strikes, they can't possibly be actually in the proper place to, go ahead and create these movies properly. And I think it speaks to, why they were striking in the first place, because it's like this, for the studios, it's not about making art, it's about making money, and they don't care really how good the product is. They're just like, okay, people are going to go see a Star Trek movie. They don't really care, what happens, just as long as, Kirk and his gang are in there. Sure, Shatner, you can direct it. You've never directed anything before. Why not? So it's just like, and I mean, I do think right now, people are a little bit more in tune with the idea of delaying things, like Deadpool
there's
ended
so
up
much
being
content.
Yeah,
I mean, there is that too. Yeah,
you remember in the 80s, like when the movies were coming out, like you had like a few movies. I remember having only a few movies I wanted to go see. Like a
Yeah.
year, you know?
Which is funny to say though, because we're going to talk about that later. That actually, like, other films had a big impact on this bombing, basically. But we'll get to that. Were you good, MC?
I mean, I'll have a lot more to
No,
say
that's
later.
fine.
So.
Let's keep on the subject of Bill directing this one. Listen, there's one reason and one reason only that Bill Shatner directed Star Trek V, and that's because of his shared notion clause, which actually, so we can actually blame, one of the few things we can blame Leonard Nimoy for is for putting the idea in his head, because Leonard Nimoy was like, you could demand to direct the next film, right? Because you have that clause.
Because he did it.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Because Nimoy demanded
No, exactly.
to, like...
But, like, Nimoy didn't need to say to Shatner, be like, dude, you should really direct the next one. But he was like straight up like, dude, go demand it because, like, it's in your contract. And he did. And that's how we wound up with this. So that's my question. Do you think a different director could have turned this film and script around? And overall thoughts on Shatner directing this one, Hawk?
Ooh, yeah. Any director could have done it. And they could have brought Nicholas Meyer back in to do it.
I don't know if Nicholas Meyer would have taken this film. I don't know.
Even bringing in Nimoy in that to do it, you know. But like, you can see how painfully, like, this film suffered in not having a good director in that. You know, you can blame this production schedule and everything and that, but you know, I mean, like, there are people who get like a good film done within shorter amounts of time, right? You can see it all over the place, the action sequences and that, the discombobulation in the editing and that, you know. I'll get into it when we actually get into it, but like, immediately the whole thing with the mountain climbing scene and that, and like, you know, Kirk falling and that, it's terrible edits and terrible and it was
There's
just
a couple of really bad edits in the film,
and it's just a basic insult to physics itself. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, if they had, maybe they could have gotten a director, a different director in, it could have turned things around in that. But like, you know, there were already a lot of things that you know, affecting it at this point. And that maybe a different director comes in, takes a look at the script, refines it to something usable, and then, you know, pays attention to what's happening on screen.
Yeah, fair. Draft.
I don't think it could have been turned around, because the script is such a collection of weird ass shit together. Like, it's like, I don't know how to write a script. I know literature, so maybe I could like have some ideas, but
I
like,
think you could cobble something together.
No,
yeah.
but that's the thing. I would patch together a lot of ideas that I like, and that does not make a script. So I think that's what happened. There's a lot of very good idea in this movie. Like, there's a lot of pieces that I really like, but patched all together, you're just like, what the hell is happening? And I don't think anybody can turn that around. At the core, it's like, you know, a huge box of Legos, like random Legos together.
Literally my house right now.
Can you make something incredible with it? Maybe, but you have to be like incredibly good, you know? And I'm not sure, like, I don't think the directing is terrible in the idea of, like, for me, it's a TOS episode that is 2 hours long, and it's more the story itself that is like super weird than the directing itself. I don't know. It's like, it's a late 80s movie. I don't think he did a worse job than a lot of movie that were out at that time.
Jamal in the chat writes, consider that what we saw was what they felt was the least weird version of the film. Let that simmer for a second.
You know, I love weird. Like,
yeah.
I love B movies. Like, I love like shit like Army of Darkness and like crazy shit like this.
Awesome.
Like, yeah. And so, is it as good as Army of Darkness? No. Is it as campy? 1000%. It just, like, it was made at the wrong moment. If they had shelved it and like do it later, it would have been not a terrible movie. I mean, I don't think it's a terrible movie personally. So I don't know. Hot take.
Fair. MC, these choices.
Oh, choices. Part of me is wondering if Nimoy, poked Shatner to demand that he direct it because he really didn't want to do a fifth movie. And he was just like, oh, if Shatner makes this demand, the producers are going to be like, oh, we're just not going to make one. But oh my, I can't really speak to the direction. I am not, well, I am interested in film. I don't have that real cinematic eye where I can really judge good direction versus bad direction.
Mm-hmm.
But what I can judge is the fact that William Shatner is credited for story on this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the fact that he's credited on story in this and that he's a director really affects this entire movie. This entire movie is basically William Shatner jerking off over Captain Kirk. After the voyage home, which was I know there's a lot of debates as to what is the best Star Trek movie, but in terms of just in
Star
terms
Trek
of using the cast properly, I think I love Star Trek 6, but in terms of actually using the ensemble properly, the voyage home is the only one that actually does it.
Mm-hmm.
The voyage home gives everybody business to do. Meanwhile, this one, we're suddenly back to the main trio of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. And the only reason we have the main trio of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy is because Leonard Nimoy and DeForest Kelley actually rioted over the idea of Spock and McCoy turning against Kirk, because Shatner just wanted it to be Shatner against I said Shatner wanted it to be Kirk against everybody, but
Kirk against the world.
Well,
Exactly.
It was
Exactly.
Shatner versus it was Shatner versus the world.
And
at that
if one
point.
thing we can agree on is Tara writes, Shatner hair was perfect on the side of the mountain,
Yeah,
and that's
you
what
gotta give it to him.
matters.
Yeah, so just everything, this was just like a William Shatner ego stroke. And like I said, everything is his random headcanons and fetishes. Look at all of the shit that is in this movie. It is absolutely, this is stuff that Shatner thinks is cool, that turns Shatner on, and he expects everybody else to think it's just as cool as he does. And we're all just left shrugging, and it's like, okay, Bill, whatever you say.
Did somebody just say Nemesis is one of the best Star Chris?
Who?
Chris? Nemesis.
He's
I'm not
stirring
on
the
the.
pot.
I'm not on the
Nemesis.
Nemesis shit list. I like Nemesis, but it's not anywhere near the best. I'm gonna go along with my dear friend Giraffe with a hot take. I actually think Shatner was onto something with doing a story about crazed and psycho Teven. I'm gonna butcher this. The crazy and
Evangelical?
yes, evangelical folks, but like
TV evangelicals.
yes, them,
Like-
yes,
Okay.
and how they're fanatical and cult like, and I think there's a good movie to be made about that with Star Trek, and I think there's moments in this film, brief moments that convey that, but I just think the script overall just fucking sucked. I do think a different director could have really, I think, done something with that, but I think Giraffe's also on another point was that this was the 80s, and those kind of movies just weren't being made, right? So it's already out of the box. So I don't know. It was just a miss all around, but I actually do think that his idea to do a film about that subject matter, had it really just stuck to that and this craze about finding God, but instead dude, the fucking Klingons are in this movie for no reason. Obviously, we'll talk about that later on.
No reason.
Yeah. Plus, there was that.
I kept wondering why the hell they were here, and I watched that movie 5 times, and every time I was like, "Oh yeah, what the fuck are they doing here?"
I think this question has got to be directed at you, Giraffe. Matt asked in the chat, did Nichelle ever comment on her opinion of the fan dance?
I think she liked it. I don't
Yeah.
remember. I think
Yeah.
she liked it.
Actually, she did
No?
not, because they didn't let her sing.
That wasn't her
but
singing?
she was. That was not the
wasn't her.
problem. but the problem was not but the problem was not the dance. She did not have a problem like dancing
Yeah.
on the movie. Like we see it also with like a different eye. It's like the same thing with like, you know, the kiss and so on, that now we're like,
Mhm.
not
Right.
great. Like she thought it was dope, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Um,
like the only thing, she was really mad that they dubbed her with somebody else.
Oh, okay.
which is insane.
Yeah,
Think
that's
about
dumb.
it.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, man. Tara Wright, she was thrilled to get any airtime. I mean, yeah, to be fair, I think out
She's
of a lot
done
of these
so
movies,
dirty in this.
well, okay, but actually she is,
Yeah,
but she also has, I
every
think
single time she looks fabulous.
she does the hair
I
in
mean,
this movie.
fair. She looks fantastic. But
Yeah.
oh, I mean, we'll get to it in the deep dive.
I read this and I don't know how much weight to really give to this. I don't know how much of it is true, but this is number 3. There were those among, I guess, the fan base who were upset with the Next Generation. There were. I mean, that is a fact, right? Like TNG at first was not received well. People were like, this isn't Captain Kirk. This isn't Spock. Like, who the fuck are these new guys? And it was filming its second season at the time that this is actually, I think, the only time that a Star Trek movie and a series were being filmed at the same time. So like they were visiting each other on set.
Didn't that happen with 6?
Oh, you might be right. Yeah, because they reused the engineering set. Yeah, so it happened with 6 too. Well, I think they used the set, so I don't know if TNG was filming at the same time.
Oh.
Do you guys think that the fandom was a factor in this bombing at all? Like saying, well, this new series sucks, so we're not going to go see our beloved Kirk, Spock, and McCoy in this one. Anybody can answer in any order. I don't care because it's kind of like a weird
No, I
bullet
don't
point,
think
but I
so,
wanted
because
to
like
talk about
I
it.
actually have like a lot of magazines from like the late 80s, and like everybody was like pissed at. It's funny because like the same like IDs, and people are like pissed about Discovery, like same thing. It's like the same sentences, you know. People like didn't like TNG, were pissed at TNG, and so on. And I feel like Star Trek 5 was playing into the nostalgia of like the 60s Star Trek. So no, like people would have gone and watch it. Imagine they do a TNG movie today. People are gonna go and watch it.
Yeah,
Right?
Well, right.
Because
yeah,
People are
Everybody-
asking for it already.
Yeah, everybody, like a lot of people were like not happy about New Trek are gonna be like, oh, TNG. Plus everybody who likes TNG, and plus everybody who likes Star Trek. I don't think that's why it bombed. I think it was bombed because it's maybe the 5th one also.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like if they do like 5 TNG movies now, like I feel people are gonna be here for the first, for the second, for the third, and then it's gonna go down, right?
I mean, that's what happened with TNG movies, anyways.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Jamal in our chat was you know, I think probably a little bit older during the time, so he experienced this. He goes, no, not a lot of us, not the letter writers, were starving for more Trek, whatever it was. So
why didn't you go and see it?
I mean,
Huh?
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did.
Well,
Huh?
the thing is,
I was only
don't know.
2, so I couldn't.
I was.
I don't know how much the fan base was
7?
affected, but I mean, the fact that it was filming at the same time as TNG, and it was actually, because you did remind me, there is an excellent story that Will Wheaton tells about during this time when he met Bill Shatner when he was directing this movie. It's in his memoir, Still Just a Geek, and I think there's also a version of it on YouTube. Go check it out because it's fantastic. But the splitting up of the production team, because I assume that people that were working on TNG also probably worked on this movie. And I mean, yes, I know right now we have multiple Star Trek series, and even later on in the 90s, we had multiple Star Trek series. But if this was the first time that was happening, and if it was split between TV and a movie, that might have an effect on the production.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't think it had that had a factor in that. If anything, it's like, TNG was probably hit hardest in that by the strike and everything that was going on in that. And
Season 2, yeah.
Yeah.
Shades of gray.
Mm.
But also in that, the cult of Kirk, you want to talk about I always think of the story of after Generations came out and what Ronald D. Moore had to put up with, and that I don't know if you guys ever heard in that what he went through after Generations came out.
I know there were a ton of I think, threats because of the way they offed Kirk.
There was one guy who phoned his house for months and left a message. He always knew to leave the message on the answering machine, but it was the same message, and he'd just leave it over and over again for months. And that, Ronald D. Moore, you know who you are, and you know what you've done, and now I'm going to come and blow your fucking head off. So, I mean, the cult of Kirk was always at it was still at an all-time high at that point. And that, so if it was. It wasn't a failure on the fans' part to show up in that, I don't think.
Listen, they killed Picard in season 1 and they brought him back.
Mm-hmm.
The golem. Like, I think
please don't. Just don't. Why? You know, it's like my least favorite thing to talk about.
Like, it's the same thing with Spock. Like, apparently you can't off anybody in Star Trek.
I liked it better when
he
was dead. I fucking love that line in this movie so much.
You know, you just can't kill people. That's why, like, every time they're like, "Oh, Narisa is not dead," because it's Star Trek.
Jesus,
and like,
yeah,
even if you bury them, even if you have a funeral, even if you have a body, they can still bring them back. So
Narisa's on the Black Mountain right now.
Exactly.
Definitely on the Black Mountain. Listen, I Hawk, you were talking about it earlier. The edits and just like overall visual effects of this film. There's a big reason for that. ILM did not do the effects. So for those who don't know, ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, the heroes behind all of Star Wars and Star Trek. A much lesser known company ended up doing the effects for this film. And I mean, it does look unfinished all the way through. You're talking about bad edits. There's a point where the Enterprise is flying, like as I think they're taking the shuttle down to do the rescue mission. And and a planet literally just moves its orbit and goes back. It's so bad, Hawk.
Yeah, this was probably the biggest blow to it, having to do with the all-round strikes and that. ILM was already pre-booked for another production at that point, so they turned to Associates and
it was
Farron.
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which we're also going to talk about. Yep.
Yeah. So it was Associates and Farron, and that it was a company run by a guy named Bran Farron, who was actually more known for some pretty dazzling theatrical special effects productions. Nice. That was and also like a pretty interesting person as far as technology and that and with this company. I read somewhere that he actually kind of got into a bit of a beef with Apple and that in the mid 2000s and that when they were launching their iPhones and that, because his company actually developed the squeeze and zoom function for touch devices before them. Anyways, but looking at his list of movie credits and that, it's like the special effects were not there in that. It's like I think their first big screen production was for Altered States, this old William Hurt movie. I don't know if anybody's seen it here. Pretty good movie, but really bad special effects, and you can see it on screen in this. It's like they're like straight out of Zardoz, these effects, just mostly relying on like that lava lamp effects, that photo negative, like when they want to show something like really weird and like kind of powerful godlike happening in that, the faces zooming in and out. It's like the special effects production do not look 1989 in that. I would place them roughly around the 70s, as far as like
it was like A New Hope, right? Instead of like Empire. Yeah.
Even worse,
and even A New Hope looks better than this.
Yeah.
The same year, Ghostbuster 2.
Yep.
Which was like pretty freaking cool effects.
Yeah.
I mean, not for now standards, but I remember as a kid, that movie blew my mind. I was like, and like, it's what, like 4 years? When is Jurassic Park? Jurassic Park is 93, right?
93.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, like you had like good effect in the like the 80s.
Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah, and I mean Indiana Jones, Honey, I Shrunk the Kid. I'm like looking like what are the movies from in 1989 because I don't remember. And I was like, oh yeah. You have like a bunch of like movies that had good effects. Batman, Back to the Future. Like I mean,
to be fair, Batman was a lot of like matte paintings and like practical effects. To
But
be
still,
fair.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
you
there
can
was
use
still-
No, you could have done that.
So
No,
Yeah.
it's a good point. You could have done that for this instead of trying to use whatever the bullshit that they did for this.
To be honest, like the effects like didn't really like bother me because in my head every single TOS movie is from the 70s. So you know, like
Yeah.
when you were like it's 1980, and I was like 1980.
Mm.
It's shocking when you actually kind of put it together. It's like 89.
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi had already either come out or
Yeah,
was
it's
being
87,
made.
no?
Yeah, it was in
yeah.
83 was Return of the Jedi.
No, that was
Oh, yeah,
Empire.
83,
Empire.
yeah.
Empire was
And-
no,
No, it's
Empire was
87.
80.
Yeah, Empire was 80.
I was born the
77,
same
80,
year-
83. Oh shit, you're right. I'm sorry.
I was born the same year Return of the Jedi came out. So
Well, because I'm French, it
Apologies.
didn't come to France until like way later. So I don't know. I think the first time I watched a Star Wars movie was like late 90s. So you're welcome. No, I don't know. Like for me, bad effects are just part of the campiness of it. It's a Star Trek. I mean, for me, it's TOS. Like I'm not expecting, you know, insane quality for the effects because the movie already is making me laugh. So like if the effects are bad on top of it, I'm just like,
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Imagine if like with that story and that directing, they had like insanely good effect. That would have been so
Yeah.
weird.
But you
I
know
think
what's
it's
the biggest kick though is that this movie had the biggest budget for a Star Trek film.
30 million.
Like,
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love the makeup. They do very good job with the makeup. That Cation is like absolutely
3
fucking
boobs and all.
fantastic. 3 boobs, like it's insane. It's like it makes no sense, but like it's a lot of work. Like her whole body is painted. Like it's kind of pretty dope for you know a practical makeup. And I mean, same for the Klingons. You have like pretty cool makeup, Klingon makeup. I think.
Well, and
I
they
don't
and they
know.
had all the costumes ready from both the motion picture Search for Spock and the Klingon episode from season 2 of TNG. So like that was like built in and like looked great.
Yeah,
And the set
and
for
all like
Bird of Prey.
the weirdos from like Nimbus 3 also. Like
Yeah.
I like the style and like the makeup and so on. I think I think there was like a part of the budget you can see also in the decor and you know like the
Mhm.
setup of the Enterprise and like I don't know why he has a freaking like wheel of a ship in why not? But like I'm like yeah,
I liked the wheel. I liked the wheel.
yeah, it's just like again, it's a bunch of random thing I like glued together that makes no sense. But I didn't expect like very good effect. It didn't traumatize me
Fair.
because whatever.
Yeah. Before you go, MC Matt, this is actually not a cocktail. This is, and this is going to be the most shocking part. This is a double IPA. It is a double IPA from, I'm going to plug the shit out of my new job. The
Do
brewery
it,
that I
do
work
it.
at now. For those local who
followed
listen
them.
in PA, thank you. This is called a Rehasher. It is a double IPA that is conditioned on passion fruit and dragon fruit. And with those two combinations, you get this beautiful color. It's 8%. And those two fruits, you actually end up getting a really nice grapefruit and tang flavor from it. It's fantastic. And it's getting
Look at
made.
him being so knowledgeable and stuff.
I love my job.
He
MC.
is passionate about this job, people.
Yeah.
Okay. I would like to start off with the fact that VFX artists for the entirety of cinematic history have been shat upon by the producers. And they are going to be going on strike next year. This will absolutely happen, and we are going to support them because even up to today, they are being treated even worse. That being said, the effects in this movie do look like absolute trash. And that does come from the idea of, you know, trying to, despite having the biggest budget, you know, scrimping out on, I guess, I mean, they did want ILM, but, you know, then they went for, you know, whoever. And
They had to pay
Yeah.
Shatner 3 times, you know, for the directing,
I know, that's the
for the
thing.
acting, for the story.
yeah, I was just thinking that they had to pay Shatner 3 times, and I'm sure that was not fucking cheap. And yeah, I mean, as Giraffe said, like there's some stuff that looks really good, but I mean, also, I mean,
Close-ups
I mean,
of
this-
the Enterprise shooting model are gorgeous.
part of this also could be, you know, related to the fact that Shatner is a shit director. stuff does not look good. And like, especially when it comes to VFX stuff, that there's a special talent that it takes to, merge that stuff with real life. Like, I don't know how many people know this, like with the big name directors at Marvel, a lot of them don't shoot the VFX shots. They have second unit unit directors who are like basically trained specifically to direct the VFX stuff. So like, even like the hugest names in directing today are often not doing that kind of stuff. So Bill Shatner certainly not going to be able to handle it.
Yeah. Let's talk about the final bullet point before we actually start talking about the actual film. The summer box office to go up against Star Trek V just has, like, we have already mentioned a few of them, banger after banger after banger. Tim Burton's Batman, for one, like, fucking amazing film to begin with. Ghostbusters 2, like Giraffe mentioned, also fantastic.
That was the first non-family film I went to go see.
Batman was the first non-family film that I went to see, and I was stupid young, and this is why I'm broken. And lastly, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which is by far the best Indiana Jones movie. Yeah, I said it. It's the truth.
I mean, I agree.
And you should.
Yeah. I feel like enough said just by listing those, but that had to be a contributing factor. Yeah, Hawk?
Oh God, yeah. On a personal note, that summer I saw all 3 of those films.
I mean, good.
But did you see all 4 of them?
Yeah, did you see all 4?
No, I didn't. I was like,
you didn't see Star Trek 5 in theaters?
Not in theaters, no.
It's Hawk's fault.
I know. I know.
You bad boy.
It was TNG that brought me to Star Trek, really, and that TOS was always that thing that was on, on reruns and that for me, and then I caught the episodes here and there and that, but it was TNG that awoken the Star Trek passion for me. So naturally, yeah. But like that was a loaded summer. On top of that, you had like Lethal Weapon 2. A few others I can't even think. I think was Honey I Shrunk the Kids.
I think Draft said,
well.
yeah, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, yeah.
It was a loaded summer in that, so it was easy for a critically panned, 5th, edition of a Star Trek film to, slip through the cracks and that. It was.
I mean, in summer, there's nothing on TV also.
That's true, except for reruns.
You go to the cinema.
But yeah, it had huge competition on that. So yeah, and as I mentioned before, in that it's like with the 5th sequel to Star Trek, and that it was really approaching that point of becoming almost parody, for this crew, So yeah, it I don't think it could not have had an effect on it.
Yeah. Giraffe.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
same. I already
I know,
already complain about the same thing.
Yeah.
I just think it went out in the summer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When was
Yeah, we would spend all summer going to the movies. Are you kidding me? Like there was nothing else to do. I mean, I don't know you. I grew up kind of broke.
I theater hopped as a kid. Like I think I saw Apollo 13 and Clueless on the same day.
Yeah, you would go there because there was AC in a lot of cinemas, which was not the case in most places. I mean, I don't remember 89, maybe not.
June 9th, 1989, it released.
That's what you would do. There would nothing on TV. I would not go to vacation. I would go to the cinema, and it's still insane that this movie didn't make money, in June of 1989, and still I would go see movie I didn't even know what it was, to be honest. And we're talking it was cheap to go to the movies. Also, it was not $20. It was $2, $5. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It was not in France in 89. I think it came out way later, if it came out at all. So I didn't see it in the cinemas. I saw it on TV.
Yeah. CBF writes, my favorite movie I saw in 1988 was The Bear at a tiny theater in upstate New Hampshire.
Ooh.
Like the French movie, The Bear?
I guess we'll find out. Let us know, CBF. Yeah, maybe.
The one where the mom dies?
Yeah, that's the one I think of. Yeah.
Jamal's also right. Batman was the most hyped WB movie of that year. Batman was hyped.
Yeah.
Dude, I had
that was
the
that was the year of Batman.
It was. I had all the fucking merch for it. as a
Mhm.
kid.
Same.
Did
My
they ever
dad bought
told
me
you
all of
about the Batman poster in France? Did they ever told you about this
I think
story?
you did. I think you did, right? It was the spelling was
pod?
off, right? Yeah, on the pod. Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, like if nobody knew what it was because Batman was not like very famous, and it was just like the bat signal, and everybody thought it was like a bunch of golden teeth in an empty mouth, and like we could not understand what the hell it was, and then like it was because it was just that, and there was nothing else written. But
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
Okay. So I have some things to say about the reception. I mean, because yes, we did have some huge movies coming out, but it was number one the weekend it came out. But
It was.
the thing,
It was.
it was number one the weekend it came out, but then, the numbers fell. It only had a release of 10 weeks, which is shorter than any Star Trek movie. And also, you didn't mention here in your notes that it was nominated for 6 Golden Raspberry Awards and won 3 of them.
I didn't know that.
congratulations!
Yeah.
It won Worst Picture, Worst Director, and Worst Actor for William Shatner.
Oh, he wasn't that bad in this movie. Come on.
I mean, unfortunately, Worst Supporting Actor was like DeForest Kelly was nominated, which I think is
Okay, that's
That's
garbage.
mean.
Yeah,
I would have
That's
given. Okay,
mean.
listen. If I was gonna give that to anybody, I would have given it to Jimmy Doohan. Unfortunately, like
Oh, he was terrible in
He
this,
was
but
so
I think
bad
he
in
was
this.
also done real dirty in this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, it wasn't that. I think like the reason why it did so poorly is because it's a bad fucking movie. Trekkies went out Trekkies went out the first weekend to go see it, and they made it number one. But the thing is that I'm sure the numbers fell drastically because like Trekkies was like,
People
okay,
were like,
this
don't
is
go
it.
see it.
Yeah,
Don't-
don't go
don't
see
go
it.
see it.
And also, like a lot of times, with Trekkies, they'll see the movies like a million times in the theaters. But with this one, I've watched this movie twice.
What
That's
is with
one time
all
too
of
many.
you with Bones is horrible in the chat? Like
What?
he was
It
like one of the
was not.
saving
It was the
graces of this
best.
movie.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I think Bones does better in this than Spock, and that's saying
I think
a
he
lot
does
Yeah.
better
for
than
me.
Nimoy. 1000%.
I think
Nimoy is
yes.
sleepwalking through this.
DeForest
Mhm.
Kelly is one of the saving graces of this film. Like I don't
Like there's so many moments where you see that Nimoy is so fucking done with that
Yep.
He
thing.
is so
like,
done.
Like it's the same in the turnabout intruder or like some of the Friday's Child where he's like
That's
not even
right.
running. He's
Yeah.
like he's done with it.
Yeah.
Same mood, same.
Chris is saying his dialogue was awful, to which I say back, like the only times I laughed
The
at this
whole
movie
thing.
was like when Bones was talking, and I loved every minute of it. Like, yeah, I don't know. Let's. By the way, just real quick, I don't really have much of an opinion. I mean, these are all banger films. Like Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade. During
Yeah.
COVID, Karen rented out a theater for me for my birthday and took a
Ooh,
group of friends to
nice.
see this. Like, it's one of my favorite movies ever.
It's
That's
amazing.
awesome.
Ghostbusters 2 is epic. The Batman, like not the Batman, that's Robert Pattinson, which is also fucking amazing. But Batman, that movie holds a very special place in my heart.
It
So
was
like
so good.
all 3 of these movies are just like I would watch any
Back
of
to
them.
the Future.
Yeah, back. Yeah.
Too.
That
Did
came
you get
out
one?
in I believe that was December. That Back to the Future Part
Yeah.
2 came out.
Hey, Yum Yum Pod, long time no see. Good to see you in the chat. Awesome. Let's fucking deep dive this movie.
1 hour into the pod.
1 hour into the
I
pod.
thought we said everything, though.
No, no. We're gonna actually talk about the
There's
movie
so
movie
much
now.
more.
Okay.
Let's deep dive the Final Frontier. Act 1, The Search for God. That's right. This movie is about God. Begins.
Third act, Nick Knack.
Dude, yeah, I loved your Twitter thread so much. It's literally
Your
the
Twitter
first thing I
thread was
read.
so good.
It's the first thing I read that morning when I woke up. I was like, my day can only just like, it's beautiful. It opens with the crew of the Enterprise on shore leave, mainly Bones, Kirk, and Spock. I think Chekhov and Sulu are off getting lost. They're at Yosemite National Park. Kirk is climbing the rock, or as he said in that weird ass interview, making love to Yosemite. We get the the marshmallow scene and row your boat. What did we think about the opening, Hawk?
almost a good metaphor for the film itself, and that, the egoism of like, climbing that huge flat face rock, and that, and of course it's Kirk who's got to take on that challenge,
Of
right?
course.
But then falling because it's almost an impossible task. But really, like, this part always bugged me in that, like, with him falling, and then Kirk or the Spock doing the about face with the jetpacks, and then somehow building up enough speed to to build up the momentum to catch
He's very heavy.
right, and
Very heavy. He's a heavy boy.
you can see it in there is no continuity in it, and that, like, he just appears at the end and that, and grabs it in the nick of time, and that, and I think it's a great indicator of, like, what kind of experience you're going in for this movie. That, I mean, like, I don't know, this is the whole row your boat thing, and that part of me finds that a little bit touching, and that,
Yeah.
I mean, these, like, these three, people have been together for like decades of their life together, and that, just enjoying a bit of camaraderie out in the woods, and that, I was fine with it. Sulu and Chekhov being lost in the woods and trying to fool, like,
'Cause I'm lost in the woods. Sorry.
woods.
Good singing
But
some Frozen.
They did Sulu dirty.
it was unnecessarily comedic, and that, and almost verging on stupid,
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, first of all, that fucking movie doesn't open on that. It opens with a guy like digging
It
fucking
does.
holes in the
No,
desert.
It does. You're right. Yeah.
Which is like a full mood. Like you go see a Star Trek movie and there's that guy with too much eyeliner just like digging holes. And it's like, look at my field where I grow all my holes. And you're like, what is that? What is going on?
Oh, look, a unicorn riding in the distance.
And then that guy, like Space Jesus, like coming on a unicorn and be like, share your pain. And you're like, I came here to watch a Star Trek movie. And I'm like, I'm a sucker. So I'm like, you got me. Let's see. And then you cut to Yosemite and to fucking Kirk, like doing rock climbing, when we all know that guy would not be able like to climb 10 meters on that thing. And okay, I'm still here. I'm still, let's do this. Spock is kind of the saving grace because like he shows up, and I like the fact that Spock for like 900 episodes of Star Trek has no business doing anything, but he's always here doing whatever the fuck he wants to do. And I respect that. I'm happy for him. And being like, why are you here and what are you doing? It's like, that's the question we're all asking ourselves. Like, why is he here and what is he doing? So anyway, that whole diving thing is ridiculous.
Mhm.
Like, especially the catching him like a second before he hit the ground, which I think Spock did on purpose because he wanted to like let him think that he may die, but he can't die. And then that camping trip has been every single camping trip. Listen, I have never been to a camping trip on my full will. Like every camping trip I've done was against my will. Okay. I was like not cooperative. I didn't want to do that. And every single fucking camping trip I've done in the US has turned in that camping trip with people singing fucking songs I don't know and be like, dude, you don't know the words. No, I fucking don't know the words. Why would I know the words? You want to sing in French? Let's see. And like, I discovered what the fuck s'mores were like 5 years ago. I didn't know what that was. And
Yeah,
like,
but
it's
that's a
super good.
fucking
It's
travesty,
not,
Giraffe.
not good. It's
No,
super
wait.
sugar.
Get out of here.
What do you mean? It's a food that you
It's
grill on the stick.
delicious. It's amazing. A s'more? You had bad s'mores then.
The fact that s'mores are a trait makes me sad. It means like you never had anything better than a s'more. I
No.
had so many things better than a s'more.
Okay.
Like, okay, anyway, it's burning half of the time. They catch flames for no fucking reason. And like, so anyway, I feel Spock to go back to the movie. And they're like, yeah, you don't know that. Anyway, and I'm like, no. So I feel him. And then they did Sulu and Chekhov dirty. Like, they're mostly useless in the Chekhov kind of a little bit, but Sulu is like mostly not here. Like, not here. But then I have to say that Uhura arriving in like perfect fucking uniform, heels in the wood when they all look like gremlins, like eating their marshmallow or whatever it is that they're eating. I'm like, yes, this is me. This is the girl who doesn't go to the camping trip, but I'll come pick you up in a car while you look dirty and I look fabulous. That's what I'll do. So yes, I like that opening because it's the most TOS shit I've ever seen. Like,
Hell yeah.
I'm still like, I'm hanging to it for 15 minutes. I still have no clue what we're doing. No clue. We don't know why we're here. We don't know what's happening, but I'm still here because I'm a fan, and I will persevere, through it. Yeah, that's what I think about that fucking opening.
MC's had her hands over her face for the past 5 minutes, so I think she's ready
We
to
need
go.
to comment. Yes.
I'm just, oh my God. I don't want to talk about this movie, but I also do want to talk about this. I am so bipolar over this goddamn movie. And I'm allowed to say that because I actually am bipolar.
That's fair.
The only way this movie makes sense to me, and I've said this on my YouTube channel before, is by explaining it as a coma dream from Kirk falling off the cliff and not being caught by Spock, because Spock in the fucking rocket boots is just like the stupidest thing, and like catching him at the last moment, I mean, it's just so dumb. So in my head, like, that's the reason why this movie is like never really referenced, because like it's all actually in Kirk's head, and you can explain away Sybok and that, Spock actually mentioned him at some other time, so Kirk dreamed up this version of him, because in Strange New Worlds we're not going to get Sybok like this. We're going to get like an entirely shinied up Sybok. So, but other than like, just like the opening, like I'm going to go on about the rock climbing scene some more, apparently, because Spock and McCoy aren't allowed to actually do anything except exist as accessories to Kirk. Like, Spock is coming up with his rocket boots so that, he can make his little Spockisms and then save Kirk. Meanwhile, McCoy is just like standing there, just like watching,
the dude's like literally seconds away from a coronary, just like, yeah.
The guy who holds your coat while you do things, is the mom.
Yeah, like I swear to God, like Spock and McCoy do not exist if Kirk is like, as if when Kirk blinks, they disappear from existence. And then everybody else in this movie, like, they're all done so fucking dirty. Like the Chekhov and Sulu scene, where they're wandering through the woods like randomly, and then they're like trying to like, there's a snowstorm or whatever, and I didn't really understand what they were doing. And that's the only thing I can remember with them doing in this movie is this opening scene. And then like with Uhura and Scotty on the bridge, and then they have that like really weird like chemistry thing that they tried to put in, which is just like so like thrown in there. And I swear to God, the only reason they put it in there was because they had no idea what to do with these two. And meanwhile,
that's like
we all
the
know
whole cast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ones that should be fucking are Chekhov and Sulu. I mean, like, who knows what they were getting up to in those woods. And like, I know that there's some people who are like big fans of the campfire scene. It's like, oh, this movie sucks, but the campfire scene is great. I don't like the campfire scene. Spock's saying marshmallows, like, I can't see that. Like,
that guy like read 5 PhDs about that thing.
Yeah, he said he researched camping. This guy with an eidetic memory who researches the fuck out of everything. You think he's going to pronounce it marshmallows?
Yes.
No, I have heard that apparently in like the novelization that like McCoy apparently like went into like the
fucked with him
and like changed it
like
to
a Wikipedia
marshmallows.
page.
McCoy would totally do that.
Which is like the only way it actually makes sense, but it's also really stupid, and they didn't have it in the movie, so if it's not in the movie, it doesn't count. And the Row about they all suck at singing.
Well, to be fair, Bones literally says, I warned you.
I'm just saying, like,
when you think that like all of them have like albums and recorded music and like they sing like that, you're like, dude, please.
Hobbit song.
I mean, I've I've heard William Shatner sing, and it's just like, which by the way, he's nominated for a Grammy right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's for his memoir. It's not for singing.
Okay, good. Thank God.
He's like
But
5th, 6th, 7th, 8th
I know, right?
autobiography. And like, yeah.
yeah, but when Mehalani posted it in both Strange New Pods Discord and in the Spore Discord, I answered with a gif of him singing Rocket Man because of course I did.
As you do.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I didn't find it charming. I do think that, like, looking back on it, the whole I know I'm gonna die alone. I mean, it's like, but did you know you were gonna die under a bridge alone?
And not alone. John Luke was there. Soren's
it's not the same.
dead
You
body
always
was
die
there.
alone, Julian.
No.
You know
But see,
Yeah.
he didn't have his two
I
moms
guess.
with him at the time.
Guess.
And one thing that we have not brought up yet, which is a big bug up my ass for this movie, is what the fuck is wrong with the Enterprise?
Okay, I actually have a good answer to that question. I was gonna get to that.
bugs.
I'm gonna go.
Somebody clicked on the malware.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Kirk was looking up porn.
So
LimeWire.
I love this. I actually love the opening to the movie. I do. Like I can't stand this movie, but I like the opening. I love the music. I thought the score was very good, even though for the life of me. Oh no, it's Jerry Goldsmith. He did an amazing job, and because this movie tanked, he was asked to come back for 6 after Horner turned it down, and he turned it down because it tanked. So still, we got a really good score for 6, so I'm not complaining that much. Anyway, I like the opening. I like the campfire scene. I just do. Like I have no issues with it. Them singing is awful in the best possible way. Spock just being clueless, like, makes me happy. Bones being Bones with Spock, getting like so like worked up over Spock. I was like, yeah, everything's as it should be. And then going to the thing about the Enterprise, I just love that they like go up, right? And you get Scotty's log, and he's just been like, I have no idea what the fuck is happening with my beloved baby, and I'm furious. And the reason for that is that the Enterprise A was a unprepared ship that was originally the USS Yorktown, and then when Kirk saved the world, Starfleet was like, oh shit, we have to demote him and give him a ship. Oh, hey, we have this ship that's not ready yet, that's not even launched, but we'll take the Yorktown off of it and we'll rename it the Enterprise and let them deal with it. That's what's wrong with the Enterprise. It wasn't ready. They were like, here's your...
That's all in universe. It doesn't, it's, just like from a writerly perspective, I think it's fucking stupid.
I
think it's stupid. I don't like it. And what is it with Enterprises not being ready for launch? And why is it that there's no other ship that can go on this fucking low stakes mission?
There's
MC,
never no other
no
ship.
MC,
It's full Star Trek.
no
There's
MC.
never no other ship.
No. There were plenty of other ships in range, but they didn't
right.
have Jim Kirk.
Oh,
Julian,
fuck that.
That's the line from the movie.
I
It's
know,
literally
but
the line
fuck
from
William
the movie.
Shatner. Fuck William Shatner's ego, because like we're gonna send off an unprepared ship, one that's breaking the fuck down, just because Jim Kirk's on it. Beam him onto another fucking ship.
Hawk, what were you gonna say?
Okay, Julian, great explanation, and I can
I like it.
I can
Thank you.
I can take that the Enterprise, is like, has some bugs in it and that, it's got to be worked out. And that. Why does the captain's logbook like break down like some
Okay, yeah,
weird,
that
like,
was
comedic
dumb.
toy and that? I didn't understand that.
Yeah. Let's move on to the vacation being cut short and Chekhov blowing air into his communicator because that was gonna work. And her just being like, dude, it's sunny and clear. What the hell are you doing? This hostage situation develops on Nimbus 3. Sybok seizes control of the situation. We get the whole thing where fucking the Admiral, played by Harve Bennett, it's like, there's other ships, but not with Jim Kirk at the chair. It's like, to be fair, Shatner even has like the "oh please" line. I'm like, well, at least you also acknowledge that it's ludicrous, but still.
I love that Bones just goes like,
yeah, he literally rolls his eyes. Yeah.
That was actually DeForest Kelly.
Probably. So Sybok has seized control of the planet. And they go down, they do the strike, we get the fan dance, some just like very Star Warsy shit happening. they all get arrested on board the Enterprise, and during that, when they're in the brig, Spock reveals that Sybok is his half brother, who has expressed his desire to find God at the center of the galaxy. Thoughts on the strike on Nimbus 3, Klingons somehow being involved in all of this, and even Bones being like, it'll be a shame if the Klingons show up. And obviously the big Sybok reveal, Hawk. So
All right,
yeah,
so
it's a lot.
That's a
Strikes.
big chunk.
Strike on Nimbus 3. This was one where it really reveals like how bad a director he is, and that because all the action sequences involving the outpost just stunk. They really did. First off, it's like his focus was very pulled in that because it's like Sybok seemed to be presented like a Lawrence of Arabia in that, bringing his people to freedom, right?
Yes. 1000%.
But then that quickly kind of plans out. The action sequences were terrible, from the effects of the phasers to the fight, Kirk, kind of marching in, without a care in the world, and that because, hey, he can just kind of throw anybody to the side he wants, no matter how young or no matter how big or tough. Then the whole thing with the Cation and that's like last night I was watching it, and I was watching that fight sequence and looking at
What
the edit.
What fight?
With the
that sequence. It's not a fight.
It's a throw. It's a toss into a tub.
Yeah, not just that, but Kirk deadlifts this Cation, who probably about a good 140 say pounds in that, and deadlifts, and then throws into the tank.
Cats are very light, you know that.
True, but humanoid cats probably are not.
That third boob's got to add some weight, though.
It has to. And then dies as soon as she hits the tank. And I was like, what? Wait a minute. She's dead. What happened?
Face down, dead.
Face down. Yeah, dead. Just not moving. Done. I was like, okay. The Sybok reveal was, I did enjoy the comedy element of it. And that, it's like, I know you, and I know you don't have a brother. And it's like, you're right, Captain. I have a half brother, and I got to sit down.
Fucking Spock.
That was
so on brand.
Yeah, it was still on
So
brand.
Spock.
It was funny. Scotty and the jailbreak was kind of amusing. Yeah, I still can't get past Nimbus 3 and the whole action sequence and that. It's like it was bad. It stunk.
As Jim McMahon points out, we see that Spock nerve pinches a horse or a unicorn.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, mind melds with a horse.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could see that. I kind of could.
Out of all of that, that's what you could see. I like it. Okay. Yep.
I'm good.
A giraffe.
Okay, so first of all, I still don't understand that fucking hostage situation. Like, I don't. I've watched the movies. I don't get it. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. I'm like, sure, like a human, a Klingon, and a Roman walk into a bar on fucking Nimbus 3. I don't know.
It'll be a
Like,
good joke.
Right? And then it's not even what's the point? What's the fucking point? To drag the Enterprise there, I suppose. Why the fuck would the Enterprise care about this? We don't know. It's just an amount of you just accepting stuff. You're like, okay, I'll buy it. Okay, I'll accept that. Okay, just to move on the story. The most out of pocket Romulan they've ever done.
Apparently, her
feel-
voice was dubbed over too.
Yeah, that's what
Really?
somebody wrote
Yeah.
on my thread. I think it was Jamal, by the way, and I didn't know that. I'm like, what? And the thing is it's they wrote Romulan, and then the person who read the script and was doing the casting or anything didn't know what that was and was like, we'll just make her kind of Vulcan, and she has no Romulan attribute at all, zero, none of the things.
No, if she did, she would have been like, this whole thing is shady as fuck.
Exactly. You expect the Klingon to be like, fuck you, and the Romulan be like, yeah, I'm out of here, and be out, here is your handcuffs, thank you. And she's panicking and so on, and I'm like, no. So I was disappointed. I was happy there was a Romulan, but then I was disappointed.
There's
The
actually
whole
a
thing on-
really sorry draft. There's actually like a really gross deleted scene with the Romulan and Korg and the human where like the Klingon, I think in Klingon says the only thing Romulan women are good for is being on their back, and I'm like,
Ooh.
oh my fucking
Again,
god.
like that the person who wrote the script never watched Star Trek because
Yeah,
like
it's so bad.
there's one Roman woman at that point, and
Yeah.
it's the fucking Roman commander who is like insanely badass, right? So it's just like it's like people like wrote the story not knowing any of the lore, and I'm just like, okay, why the fuck not? But like I don't understand what's going on. The whole thing on Nimbus, I kind of like that, you know, that like Lawrence of Arabia kind of like vibe because like Sybok is like helping people who are really suffering, like that guy, like these people on Nimbus 3, they're like really suffering. Like when like Kirk is like, I don't want to share my pain. You motherfucker, what are you not suffering about anything? Like you have food, you're like a captain, like there's no money, but like you know, you're set. Like you're educated, you have everything you fucking want. Like sure, you have grief and like you lost people, like every single one of us, bitch. Like these people on Nimbus 3, they're like really suffering. Like it's not. I don't know how this movie compares the suffering of the people on Nimbus 3 and the suffering of fucking Spock. Like yeah, he's have suffering, but like he's the son of an ambassador. Like boo fucking who? Like your dad didn't like it, mine neither. So what? You know, like. It's just it's just like whack that we make so much about like the pain of these three guys compared to pain of like people who are like in deep shit, you know. So the unicorns cracked me up because yeah, why not? Spock is fucking done with everything. Like Nimoy is very clearly done on that Nimbus 3 like attack thing. You see him like barely moving. He has a respirator for no reason at all. Like I still don't know why the fuck he's wearing this, and it's just like going on and going on. Me watching, being entertained. I'm entertained as fuck. Like at that point, I'm like just laughing. I'm like, yeah, let's go fight. The Cation fight makes no sense, and I'm like, yeah, draw why not? But it's just absolutely super entertaining because it's so absolutely fucking stupid. And I'm here for this. I'm here for all of it. Let's be honest. I laughed throughout the thing.
I think one of the most important things that you said was like that Nimbus 3 is just like such a shithole, right? And like everybody's in so bad shape there. And I think actually like the most unrealistic thing about this film is that Starfleet, for some reason, like you mentioned, gave a shit. Like it's Starfleet's MO to not give a shit about planets like this, to all of a sudden
But
like,
they gave a shit about the Romulan and the Klingon mostly.
I guess it was just.
But why the fuck they were here? Like it doesn't hold together.
Yeah.
And again, you'd think that the Klingons would take care of the Klingon and the Romulan would take care of like some cloaked Romulan around that are always.
There's
hanging
always a
everywhere.
warbird lurking, right?
There's always like
yeah.
they're here, they're waiting. Oh no, oh.
Oh shit. MC.
Leave, love, lurk. You remember?
Indeed.
I
Pass.
no,
I'm kidding.
no, definitely not
kidding. I'm
pass
kidding.
because I have so many things to say. I'm just trying to think of which is the first thing I'm going to say. Okay, I think the first thing I'm going to say is that Nimbus 3 makes no fucking sense. Like I don't understand this planet. Like the Federation and the Romulans and the Klingons are working together for this shithole of a planet at this time in all of these species. The political situations, they're really going to be working together on this shithole of a planet? Absolutely fucking not. No.
Really though.
Why would
Because
they
there's nothing to
care?
well, exactly. The three of them being on there, there's nothing to care about or like scheme over. So like they could just like she could bring the Romulan ale, he can bring the blood wine, and human guy can bring the whiskey. Like what's there to fucking care about? So why not just like share this space? It's stupid,
this
but
shithole of a planet would not have ambassadors.
I mean,
Okay,
Yeah.
but I've lived in pretty shithole place to be honest. Like, you know, I live like in many different places. There are ambassadors everywhere. And second, who tells you there's no fucking like dilithium or something? Like the US is like hanging in places where there's like a lot of like sand for oil. Like I think like in my back of my mind they're there because there's something that we don't know about. And the movie is so bad that like they don't tell us. But for me there's most probably a good fucking reason that a Klingon, a Romulan, and a human are there. And like if it's like
they don't tell us a good reason.
They don't
why.
tell us, but like the movie is bad. Yes, but
yeah, but this is my problem. I mean, this is my thing.
For making up a story, and for me, they're like here to steal some oil or like dilithium or whatever it is. There's something in the ground.
And it's weird because you know that these three are not like the it almost seems like a punishment for them to be there.
Chris writes are the worst ambassadors from each
Well, imagine you get sent there as an ambassadorship, like you fucked up. Like that's a punishment. That's a punishment.
That dude's smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. Like,
but here's the thing. Like, you guys know me. I'm like the queen of headcanons. I love coming up with headcanons. I don't care enough to come up with a headcanon for this because this is just bad. And you know, it's not my job to like fill in all of the holes for this shit ass movie where it's just like the very basic points of, you know, why this plot is going on. Because yes, why are these ambassadors on there? How did Sybok find them? How did he put this plan together? What was his plan? I mean, like, was it just any
the Roman
starship?
Ambassador? Like, you think like not everybody on the planet would know where the fuck she is? Like, look at her. Look at the rest of the people there.
Yeah.
They're easy to find.
I mean, are they specific? Is he specifically trying to get the Enterprise? Because he does feel like he's specifically trying to get the Enterprise. Or was it just a Federation ship specifically? I don't know. Though I do have to say, and this is the one thing I will give to this movie. So this is, you know, respect where respect is due. I love Sybok. I am always here for House Solkar drama.
That's true.
I will completely support the idea of Spock having a secret half brother that is, and I mean, like, most of my love for Sybok does not come from this movie because fanfic writers just like do some beautiful things with him. You know, really taking the idea of him being a cult leader and just and one who's just like really like into emotions and that kind of stuff and just turning him into just like this absolutely vile character, and I love it. I mean, like, that's really the only good thing that I can say is that I really love Sybok, and I love that they're going to be doing something with him on Strange New Worlds. But everything else is I don't understand, and I don't understand actually really what Sybok's plan is.
I think his plan. That was. I mean, that was pretty well. He was like,
he's doing the whole gig because he wants a ship.
He wants a ship.
That was pretty well established.
But like the whole, I get that part. The whole he wants a ship thing, but you know, I feel like in some ways, like Sybok, it's like that list of like, one, get a ship, blank, 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 profit.
No. I want to get a ship. I want to go through the Great Barrier, and I want to find God.
I mean, but I don't like the whole thing is obviously like, I don't get the whole God thing.
Oh, I do get that though. It's like the only thing in the movie that kind of makes sense to me is Sybok. Like his motivation are very clear to me because they're like, they're like they make sense compared to like everybody else. What the fuck they're doing? They don't make sense. None of them. And I have like to like just fill in the blank. Like Sybok, like for me, it's very clear. It's a guy who has like the ability to alleviate people's pain, which all Vulcans do, but they don't use it. And that guy is like, you know what? I had a shitty dad, most probably a shitty mom. I don't know, like the Vulcan princess always.
Vulcan princess.
Like you see that Spock totally pulled. You imagine like I think you imagine like little Spock hearing his parents argue, and I'm not going like, and you and your fucking Vulcan princess, and he just took it like as it is, and like just like tells, I have a half brother. His mother was a Vulcan princess, which was just like. Amanda being pissed at her husband, which I buy.
And it's absolutely
so-
what happened.
Yeah, this is like not at all. Anyway, he has this opportunity, and he is one of these Vulcan that like realize that Vulcan culture is fucked up, and that they don't live by their own fucking rules, and that they're like old dicks, and that they have this ability to alleviate people's pain, you know, and like unlock trauma and like heal psychological problems. And he goes and like he uses it, but what he wants. And then I think through doing this, it gives him like such a spirituality and like that search for God, not for Spock, but for God. And that guy is looking for a purpose, and he thinks that it's his purpose. And then he's stuck on that fucking like shithole planet. And then he sees these guys who are most probably lurking there for no good reason. And he's like, you know what? I'm gonna seize that opportunity, and I'm gonna get myself a ship, capture these assholes, make a fuss, start shooting around, which will drag the Federation around because ambassadors are being held hostage, people are shooting, people who are like dirt poor, having nothing, are like rebelling and going on strike. You know, like the big guy are gonna show up, and he's gonna get his ship. And for me, it makes sense. This is the only like plot on the whole fucking movie that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
The only problem is that they don't explain it. They don't give enough like dialogue. The dialogues fucking suck, and they don't like develop the characters enough for Sybok to actually explain all this. And then it's an 80s movie. What do we fucking expect?
But see, you said it yourself. They don't explain it.
I mean, I
do.
no, that's like the biggest thing that they
I don't
explain.
need everything to be
Starship,
like said out
God,
loud. Yeah.
No, like that. I think that's, I don't know. I think Jamal actually hits it right on the head, right? Like the God alien was basically whispering in Sybok's ear because Sybok's such a powerful telepath, right? He wanted that greater meaning, and that entity offered that. That's a great point. Also, I love Kang getting right to the point. My favorite Sybok moment was when he died. Tell me how you really feel. And Gene Kang is wondering if twin-twaining got introduced to Vulcans as conflict resolution. I don't know how the Vulcans would do with the twin-twaining. Yeah. What do you think about Star Trek V, Karen Brown? The Sybok one.
I don't know if I've actually even seen the whole thing.
Fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
The beginning was weird.
There it is. Let's talk about the journey to the galactic barrier. The Enterprise ventures that way. It's that kind of mysterious energy field. I think that's what Discovery went through, right? Or was that the yeah. It was weird.
And in TNG also they go through it like
So meanwhile, Sybok's using his unique ability, right, to alleviate people's pain, delving into their past. We get that whole scene with Kirk and everybody. We'll talk about that more later. So meanwhile, the crew's also dealing with this bonus of having the Klingon out for glory, chasing them to reach the supposed location of the Almighty. So the Klingons just still make no fucking sense. We kind of already talked about it, but what do we think about that? You know, Sybok being this powerful telepath, being able to take people's pain, and obviously, just like we teased it at the beginning, why Klingons? Why Hawk?
It's almost like the Klingons were there just kind of at a continuity in that from like, Wrath of Khan on. Wait a minute, do we have Klingons in Wrath of Khan?
No.
Anyways, it was a way to kind of insert that. It was almost like
Retro.
kind of continuity from 3 on, and that, with the 3 at 4 with their ship, and then 5. So, but they're just there. I'm glad they didn't play a bigger part in the story. They really just felt plot devicey in that, to put there at the end to kind of have the disgraced ambassador be the one who actually saves Kirk.
I do love that. I gotta say.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dreff's right. The makeup was great on the guy. The one playing Claw. That was Todd Bryant playing him. Yeah, and Sybok taking away people's pain. Yeah, it's like it kind of makes you wonder. It's like, why haven't Vulcans kind of like made it more of a career option that for Vulcans to kind of be like Pretty much the greatest
I'm going to get to that.
the greatest therapist in the entire galaxy. Even if it does seem like a kind of invasive, because like people don't ask him to take away the pain, and he just kind of goes in and it's like, I can see it. It's like, there it is right there, and just goes in and just takes it away. And obviously in that scene with Kirk and Spock and McCoy and that, when it kind of comes to Kirk and that, he runs up against a real brick wall. But yeah. I don't know. It does seem kind of a weird choice to have the Klingons.
Jamal is mentioning it's right after Voyage Home, which we know, and they want his head because of everything. But like, you still don't need to have them in this film. Like, period. Like, it didn't make any sense.
It really didn't.
Like, for this specific film, it was just like, oh shit! Like, we don't like Sybok's. Is Sybok a villain? Like, I don't think so.
That's a weird thing.
So it's like, oh shit, we need someone. Oh shit, okay, we'll do the Klingons because they're easy, and we already have the Bird of Prey, and we have the costumes and the makeup available, so let's do it.
Right. I mean, but they kind of got away with like, in the Voyage Home, they got away without having like kind of anybody playing a villain in that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a thing killing everybody.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's not portrayed by an actor with an all-round plan and that, and some sort of a grievance against Kirk and that. It was just something that was there, and it was an unknown
killing
entity.
Everybody.
Yeah, killing everybody. Okay, so that was the villain, but it didn't give a very showy performance. Let's put it that way.
CBF wants everybody to know that the Klingons are there, so Chekhov can comment about the one Klingon's wonderful muscles.
True, makes sense.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, arms are gret, weren't they? Yeah, I don't think I got much more to add.
That's fine. That's fine. Giraffe.
I still don't understand what the fuck the Klingons are doing here, but like, I feel that they're doing what Klingons do best. They're being weirdos and they're doing crimes and they're being a pain in the ass. And I mean, is it really a Star Trek movie if there's no Klingon like around? Like, we have lurking Romulans, crazy Klingons, very on point. I think they're great, like, thread between Voyage Home, like looking for looking for Kirk, and Star Trek 6. I think it's actually a good, like, you can get rid of Star Trek 5, it still works. But like, if you get Star Trek 5, like, where it is on like thanks to the Klingon, where it goes on the timeline, because they're still looking for Kirk. So I don't know. I think like the makeup were great. They were like, there's a lot of Klingons being spoken, which I like. So I think that was fun. What was the rest? What was the other part of the question?
Sybok being able to do his
I think
and affecting the entire crew.
Again, I don't dislike that movie. I think it's dumb on many things, but I think the story is actually a good story. I like the base of the story, that there's that guy that is not really a villain, that is trying to like liberate people's pain, and through that has a search for like spirituality. Is it done well? It is not done well, but I think the base of the story is good. And I think the fact that he's like Spock's brother, again, that movie like goes too fast on many things, but that's very interesting because I feel that's something that Spock would have liked to do, like being able to like alleviate people's pain. He's like always trying to right wrongs. He's always trying to bring people together because his sister asked him to do that, to reach out to people. And that's what Sybok is doing. But Sybok is like one more Sarek's traumatized kid, so he's not doing it right, or like he's doing it with like very personal motivations. Why the fuck not? But I don't dislike a movie where there's not a clear villain, because if you think about it, I'm Team Sybok all day long. Like, I'm like, yeah, let's fucking liberate Nimbus. Like, let's give some hope to these guys who are like basically like digging holes in the desert. Let's find what makes the universe tick. Let's like bridge the
I don't disagree with you
at all.
I don't disagree with you to a point, but also like he could have just asked, right? Or hired a ship.
Oh yeah, because like asking always gets you stuff. It's not lower decks, my man.
No, no. Okay, I get it. But dude literally could have like taken
Well,
away one of these people's pain and just be like, by the way, let's do this to
But-
someone else who has a ship, and like he
But
didn't need.
I think that's where Strange New World is like coming in handy. That guy is on Nimbus because he fucked up.
Right.
Like
right.
they marooned him there, which was a bad idea to start with, or he marooned himself, or he got
Right,
stuck
right.
there. But like we know that he's at like doing random stuff for like 30 years. Like we don't know what the fuck he's doing, but he's been at it for some time, right? He was in re-education prisons with on Vulcan because we know he was under treatment under T'Pring, right? I mean, like it's like retcon, it's like pause. But like I think it adds to the understanding that that guy, I don't think has it against Vulcan, but has it against what he was told not to do. And that's where I think Strange New World does a good job, like adding to canon and like building layers that movie didn't have time to build. Like, let's be honest. Again, it's an 80s movie. Like, guys, like,
No, yeah.
But I think the character of Sybok in itself, for me, is not insane. He's not like, like uncomprehensible, especially at the end, because at the end, like, you see that he is not a bad guy. He's a crazy guy.
Actually, that's one of the moments I
Yes.
like in the film when he gives Kirk the ship back, right? Like with no strings. He's just like, "We're here. I've gotten us this far. I've been right pretty much every step of the way. I have nothing left to prove." And I don't know. I really like that moment. Sorry.
And he kind of knew Kirk's curiosity would take over at that point. So
Anyway,
MC.
I think that, what Sybok did, I don't think that the whole taking away people's pain, I don't think it's a good thing to do. I think it's actually he doesn't ask people to do it. And I think it's probably an incredibly damaging thing. I can only believe that it's probably a, incredibly forbidden practice on Vulcan.
Doesn't he
It just
ask the entire movie the people that he does it to? Doesn't he get their consent?
dude, he does, yeah.
And Kirk straight up says no, and he doesn't do it to Kirk.
Okay, fine. Then pass.
I mean, you can keep going.
No, don't pass.
Okay. I actually don't have much to say on this. I still am like very confused about the Klingons, even though Star Trek 4, but whatever. Let's move on to the character dynamics right between Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. Even though it's really just Spock and McCoy, because Kirk doesn't get his pain talked about, like Giraffe said. Like, there's no Sam Kirk apparently. So yeah, they're tested, right? Like we get the whole thing with Bones' dad, and we get the birth of Spock, and we see young Sarek, right? And the Vulcan.
Hot.
Yeah.
Fucking hot.
Yeah. And yeah, so they go through all that with their individual beliefs and pains. What do we think about the scene in the lounge with the big ship wheel that Draft mentioned? Seeing Bones and his father, the birth of Spock, Kirk refusing to have his pain taken away. Hawk.
the McCoy scene really, that one always stood out to me in this movie. This year it hit me a little different. But yeah, it's a really standout performance from DeForest Kelley, and that whole scene, that, especially like the way he turns around and Tara, dear God, don't do this to me, and still go, it still proceeds with it, and that, ending his father's life when he knew there was no cure in sight for him, and the man was just in pain constantly. The Spock scene, yeah, it's so weird because it brings up the weirdest dynamic. I mean, technically, the Spock is the one that was looked down on in that by his father, and that, for having for being half human in that, and yet Sybok, who was pretty much should have been fucking royalty in that, as far as having Sybok as a father.
His mother is a princess.
Vulcan mother was a princess, and yet he goes off and he just he is everything that Vulcans are not. You know, he is just wild and passionate, and just cares. Like, really, he does care about people. I know it's like, MC, it feels a little invasive in that, but like, like those people, like, when they come out of that session and that, they feel like, their lives are changed, and it's like for the better. But then he runs into Kirk, and Kirk, who's just like, no, he's like, this guy's a charlatan. He's like, I need my pain, and my pain makes me who I am.
I think there's absolutely arguments for both, right? Like, I think there are absolutely people who have too much pain. Like, I would love for some of my pain to be taken away. Let me put that out there right now. Do I need some of it? Fuck yes. Are there people that maybe could really benefit from just like having it gone? I believe that could be the case for some people. So I think there is an argument for both sides. And Sybok does respect that with Kirk, right? He doesn't try to force it on him. Kirk's just like, no, I need my pain. And it's like, it's a strong moment in an otherwise kind of garbage film, but yeah.
Sure. I mean, pain's unpleasant, and it's that we all wish we could have it taken away in that, but at the same time, I mean, it's also part of character, and it's part of life. It's part of making up who you are as a person, and that the things that you do go through, and that they're teaching moments. So yeah, there's an argument that like it's like people who kind of become less than who they were in that. It's like if they were instantly alleviated from like the thing that kind of that tortured them the most.
Yep. Draft.
Again, like for the pain thing, yeah, I mean, coming from somebody who had enough trauma to make her funny, I'm like, don't take it away from me. But then I think this movie again has like, it's a weird bad take on therapy, right? It's like, no, you need your pain. Well, you don't need your pain if it's debilitating, which is like these three guys have like human pain, and it goes with being alive. Like, you lose people and you suffer from it, and sometimes your parents are dead and you suffer from it. But again, like totally different than these fucking guys starving and like dying in the desert. Like, okay, so that thing, like, I'm always like, nah. What's the question? Sorry.
the lounge scene with Spock's pain, Bones' pain, and Kirk's.
Oh yeah, fucking loved like the birth of Spock. Listen, we had a birth of Spock in the Kelvinverse that didn't make it to the final movie, right? I love
the
that
deleted
scene.
scenes from Star Trek 09 are all like good.
So
that should have like
good.
been in the film. Yeah.
Yeah, 1000%. I love that scene, first of all, because Sarek has no fucking business speaking this fucking hot. Like, what were they thinking? And I love
like Mark Leonard's a bad looking dude either.
Like, listen, we've been blessed, but he's an asshole. Okay, I'll throw that out there. Yes, like he has a breeding, he has a breeding kick. He has like a bunch of like side kids everywhere. Like, what the fuck, man? Anyway, like, we're not done. I'm sure there are others everywhere. I love the High Priestess. In the Birth of Spock, it's one. It's I don't know that it's the first, but it's like one of the first Black Vulcan in Star Trek. So, and that was her last acting gig. After that, she didn't.
Really?
Yeah. And I mean, she had lines apparently that were cut or something like that. I don't remember. Like, a lot of people commented on my thread. I learned a lot of things about that movie. But I love that get up, that everything. I think it's interesting that, like, we go to Spock's pain being his father, which we fucking know. But by that time, you're like, my dude, like, just like, take a step away from this. Like, it's interesting to see that Spock being this old, he's like still suffering from that. Like, that's wild to me. And speaking of people like wanting their pain away, I'm gonna talk about the favorite episode of Julian, the one in the planet where they forget everything in Strange New Worlds. Like, that guy, like the guy who, like, he doesn't want to remember. He knows the pain. He has pain, but he doesn't want to know what. And I'm like, fair the fuck enough. Like, it's ridiculous, but why not? So I do think, again, the base of the idea of that movie is not bad. It's just that they should have added like better dialogue, better script, and like maybe 40 minutes more of everything. And we could have like something that like you can actually think about it. But bad take on therapy in the 80s.
Normal. I mean, that was
normal. Yeah.
MC.
The scene with Bones and his father was, I think, I'm really mad that they nominated DeForest Kelley for a Razzie because he was really good in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
And the birth of Spock, I mean, of all of the painful things that has happened to you in your life, Spock, that's the one that you're like, I mean, you just died like 5 minutes ago.
And he doesn't remember his father being like so human, which is so fucking.
Also, like, I mean, Sarah, that was a compliment. I mean, Sarek has got a human fetish, so.
Oh yeah.
That.
Oh shit. Again, I think my favorite parts about this movie are the ones when like the three of them are in the room together, right? Whether they're in the brig and they're joking about Spock not having a brother, or the row your boat bullshit, or this, like, yeah. I love our collective, but I will call you out again. Calling DeForest Kelley's acting in this movie bad is like breaking my heart because it's so good. This whole entire scene, whether the weird like Spock remembering his birth and that being his pain, not making sense, like the acting was still really good. And for all the bullshit over the past almost 2 hours we've given about Bill Shatner, he acted the hell out of this scene too. And I really like it. And listen, like, again, I think Sybok not being a true like mustache twirling villain, I really love that he doesn't try and force Kirk to go through that, right? I really like this scene. It's a bright spot in an otherwise very like dismal film. But
I mean, you are giving Shatner credit for the acting, but remember what I said at the beginning. The only reason why Spock and McCoy don't turn on Kirk in this scene is because DeForest Kelley and Leonard Nimoy absolutely refused to do that. Like Shatner originally wanted them to.
Oh, did he? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I think actually would have gutted the movie.
Yeah.
Because, like the only thing that people really talk about from this movie is like, oh, the friendship between them is so good.
Yeah.
That was against Shatner's will.
Well, thank God somebody spoke up, right? Because it works so much better with them both like refusing to get rid of it. No, I really like the scene. Let's move on to the final act, obviously titled "What Does God Need with a Starship?"
Third act knick-knack.
Third act knick-knack time. Let's go.
Dude.
So upon reaching the center of the galaxy, which by the way, even though I didn't like the scene, I think Discovery still did a better job of going through the galactic barrier, but we won't talk about that. The Enterprise crew discovers
Bubble.
that that the entity claiming to be God is you guessed it, guys, an imposter, not God. Shocking. Voltavor is, I think the Romulus says Voltavor. I liked how she says that in the movie. Sybok's hopes and dreams are just like completely shattered when he realized that this is not in fact God. But still, like, as a Vulcan, curious, right? Because he wants to go in and like mind meld with it, which I think, like, curious to the end, very Vulcan. Love that. And it reveals, right, that it's just like this kind of malevolent force threatens Kirk, shoots him, shoots Spock, and again wants to take the starship to spread his word. What did we think about this conclusion of the film, including Spock in the captain / gunner seat of the Bird of Prey? Hawk.
We're at the conclusion. Yeah, this is where the special effects budget really showed its lack.
What, you don't like the filter on California?
I didn't like the whole filter swirling big-headed god. Like I said, it reminded me of Zardoz more than anything else. Yeah, it wasn't God. It was, again, it comes to a matter of hubris, and that, when you posit that the final frontier, it's like, oof, we're going to meet God, and it's like you're obviously not going to meet God, and you're going to meet another alien creature. Like, it's amazing to me how this became like, this like turned how quickly this turned from like the Ten Commandments into Skin of Evil, right? Like just and then like the special effects and just the action
You just went
involved
to
with it.
Skin of Evil. Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it really it reminded me of Skin of Evil, and that they've wind up in the place with like something that was just kind of cast away, and it wants to get away from there, right? And that was like that's the plot of Skin of Evil, which was in season 1 of TNG. So maybe a little cribbing there. I don't know. I didn't understand how, it's like, if this thing was so powerful, how does like, phasers and photon torpedoes really affect it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they went for a kind of the big emotional moment with Spock in the gunner seat and that. And I think they were trying to do their best to kind of replicate like, the more emotional moments from Wrath of Khan, or even like, Spock and Kirk at the end of like 3, The Search for Spock, which was, in a way was, really kind of like, touching in that, it's like it was asking like, it would ask like, how far would you go for a friend? This, it was kind of cut and dry, it's like, hey, you didn't die because you weren't alone, and that because we're, I'm your space mom.
Your space mom. I want a t-shirt with this.
I think you coined the phrase.
Don't get started. Matt'll start asking for like 1,000 t-shirts again.
It was a conclusion to a Star Trek movie, and that, so yeah. But then we did, and then we got another round of row your boat,
which was epic. Giraffe.
I think that with all the rest of Star Trek, this last scene creates a lot of question in my mind, in my imaginary, because like, what the fuck is that thing? Like, in the end, like, what is it? Like, is that control? Is that like, they were looking for the koala, right?
Do you remember that episode of TNG with the being in the cloud that like was?
Oh yeah.
I forget its name.
Nagila. The experiment
could be same species, maybe.
Like, yeah, but how is he stuck on the planet? So I like the fact of like the giant like nebulous entity that exists, and some of them are dicks and some of them are nice, like the nebula in the Elysian Kingdom, and I really like the idea like of an 80-year-old like conscience that exists and stuck somewhere. I think it's fascinating, and they just like don't give a shit about it because it's dangerous. But I want to know more about it, and I like the fact that you can rewrite that whole movie and think that Sybok is looking for the koala, because that's what he is. He's looking for the koala.
Yeah.
Do you think he met the koala? Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't.
I don't think he met it on Shakari, right? Like I don't think that's what it ended up being.
Special mention to Kirk getting shot in the chest and just like standing up, and he's still smoking. If you watch, his uniform is still smoking.
Why is God angry?
I listen. I think Crisis Point 2 really adds a lot to that movie. So I'm like, I do think that the rest of Star Trek is adding a lot of layer to that movie, which makes it for me more amusing, or like creates more question in my mind. And then Sybok dies, we suppose. Yes,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I mean, that
think,
thing took a photon torpedo after he went into it, so I think he's toast. Yeah.
Yeah, but nobody's ever dead in Star Trek.
No, he's dead. I mean,
maybe he melted and now he's the entity.
Unless he ascended and also then actually really met Koala. I don't know.
Yeah, I hope he did. So, and then they just go.
They just go.
And that's it. And you're like, okay, that was like basically if they had not, it's like the Last Crusade. If they had not intervened, we would have the same, more or
Result.
less the same output. Sybok would be dead. And now maybe it would like be Zora, like the
Right.
malevolent entity would like merge with a ship and like become like a mean AI, and then what? I don't know. This movie has like some interesting ideas, I will say that. And then row you boat like some more, and you're like, okay.
It's a wicked abrupt ending, right?
Yeah, I think it's like very confusing. You're
Yeah.
like, so nobody's gonna talk about like anything that happened? No, they're not.
Not going to talk about the
And
fact
the
that there
like-
was like a mini mutiny on the ship. Like,
You're
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So many questions. They need to do this movie should have had been like only one plot and like 1 more hour to make it like something.
You
that
never
made
know. With
sense.
all the Star Trek comics we're getting, we could get a miniseries post Star Trek 5. Let's do it. Let's write it. Let's do it.
Sure.
MC's like, nah, no, thank you. Speaking of MC, thoughts on the conclusion of Star Trek 5?
How can a movie about Kirk fighting God feel so low stakes?
Yeah.
Like this entire movie feels low stakes to me. I mean, like, I don't even know what else to say. Like, I mean, like everything that happens into this movie up to meeting God, and it's like just like Kirk just kind of standing there, like, and like, I don't know. Seriously, like, it's just, yeah, it feels really low stakes, and I just don't like. At this point, I was just like so exhausted. I was just like, I don't care anymore. I just like, I want to get to the end credits.
I feel you. Yeah, low stakes is a great way to put it. It's just like Hawk, you kind of hit it on the head too. Like, just like God, white man, big beard, curly hair. So generic and boring. Like this, you made
That
this movie to
almost
come.
felt like a sham to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. Like you come all this way to experience that, and then literally just like Palpatine lightning to Kirk, and a photon torpedo just takes it all away. I think the only thing that works is like, again, like I mentioned, like Sybok's curiosity, like remaining true right until the end. Like I liked that. I like that he just like ventures into the abyss, not knowing what he's gonna like, what's gonna happen when he melds with this thing. Like I like that.
But I mean, like, there's no like philosophical like thing going. Like, if you're like, even if you're in front of like an imposter god, like he's still pretty godlike,
Right.
and there's no philosophical thing coming up. It's just kind of like, I am evil, and I would like your starship.
Yeah. No, exactly. But I still, but what I'm saying is that like, even still, like Sybok knows that he's basically been, it's been a sham, right? Like that he's been lied to, that this thing was probably manipulating him, but he's still like, I want to know what your pain is, and I want to know more about you, and basically
I thought that was more of him just making the sacrifice play because he fucked up so
no,
badly.
I
he
don't
dragged
see it
his
as a
brother to
sacrifice
the
play. No, I see it as like everlasting curiosity on Sybok's part. Like he made it all this way here. He realizes he's wrong, but it's also like, well, I might as well understand what this thing is that manipulated me. Like, I don't know. I think it's a mix of both, honestly. I like that. God.
So basically, Spock lost 2 siblings to a giant entity trying to manipulate them.
Yep.
Michael to control and Sybok to whatever the fuck is that thing.
I mean, everybody in the House of Solkar kind of ends up with some like negative space wedgie like taking him out, because I mean, even Spock ends up in the Kelvin verse because of the red matter.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. The Klingon stuff. On one hand, it's like I like the comedy of it, but it's also like it's still the Klingons, and this bird of prey is there when we're like having like a talk about what God is, and like the disappointment of finding god, and just like, and then all of a sudden there's a bird of prey, and this is where my head starts to hurt. Like
When it shows up, I was like, oh yeah.
it's just
Forgot about this guy.
I don't know how to like to remedy this, because there's so many ways like this film could have ended, and then just for like Spock to be in the gunner's chair, while it's like such a cool shot, it's also like, but why? And then for the film just to end, and again, like I like them being together on shore leave and being bros, because they are like, it's the trio, it's the holy trinity of Star Trek. Like they're the bros, and they're broing out camping, and it just ends. It's such a bad ending, and it's just bad.
And also, like, we're still forgetting like Chekhov and Sulu and Uhura and Scotty. Like they're all on the ship, and like for the last couple of movies, we've really established them as a family. And let's just the trio again.
Yeah, and like they mutinied.
bros.
Yeah, they mutinied, and
The
like
bros.
there's no talk about the fact that they, like, I know they were under like Sybok's control, but still, there was a little bit of a mutiny, and like, how did they get back through the galactic barrier? And
How did
Starfleet
they
is
get,
all
like-
forgiving.
Yeah, how did they get out of his because it's not an influence. Like, it's not like he's actively doing it once
right. And
once he stopped. Like, so I mean, like, how
Yeah.
do they go back to being themselves? Like, so many questions.
Anyway,
So many,
I
so
will never have answers
so
to.
many questions. Then we get Star Trek 6 and everything's fine again, thankfully, because that movie fucking rocks. Anyway, your final thoughts on Star Trek 5 and the film's legacy. We'll go in reverse order. I have a feeling I already know what MC is going to say, but go anyway.
I despise this movie. I just I like, even the things that I actually like about this movie are just things that I would like. I like Sybok in fan fiction. I think I hope I'm gonna like him on Strange New Worlds. I mean, cross fingers. I mean, we know how I feel about Strange New Worlds at times, but like the other stuff that I like in this movie are all grudging. Like, this is not a script. This is a collection of shit that happens, and they just completely disrespect all of the characters who are not the main trio, and that offends me as somebody who's a fan of these characters, especially Uhura, who, yes, as Giraffe said, she looks gorgeous throughout the entire movie, but everything else that happens to her, like, we didn't talk about the scene where she's under Sybok's control and she's coming onto Scotty, because like that is just fucking embarrassing. I just can't. I was so happy for so long when Star Trek was like, we're just going to pretend this movie doesn't exist. And I mean, I guess we've passed that phase now, and we're actually going to acknowledge it. I mean, bringing Sybok in, I mean, maybe they could do something cool with him. But also, if Strange New Worlds like teases an Uhura and Scotty relationship in the next season, I may flip a table and walk out.
I'd support the table flipping.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't like this movie. Now that we've done it, I don't think I'll ever watch it again.
I think that's fair. Jim says you didn't even mention the scene where Uhura dances to distract the guards. No, we did.
we
We
did.
We did.
Did my man? We did.
We did.
Mhm.
It happened.
And I mean, it is such a weird scene, because like the guys are all like woman, and like running after her, and it's just like, oh.
To be fair, yeah,
And then
yeah,
we're like,
yeah.
oh no, it's yet again a trap.
Yeah.
It feels so gross. Anyways, I'm done.
Giraffe, final thoughts on Star Trek 5 and the film's legacy, if it has one.
I don't dislike that movie. It's dumb as fuck, but I love dumb movies, to be honest. I don't think it's I don't think it's boring. Like, that's the thing. I don't like movies when they're boring. Like, the motion picture is boring as fuck. Like, half of the movie I don't remember what the fuck is going on. And there's like long shot of like the Enterprise, and it's boring, But this one like manages to keep me entertained for all the fucking wrong reasons. Like a free boobs Cathian, like Brandos in a field of holes, Spock really doesn't want to acknowledge that he has a brother. Cracks me up. I don't know, the camping that makes no sense. The every single choice of this movie is so wild, makes no sense, but somehow it's like a roller coaster of like crazy shit. And I'm like, yeah, what's next? What's next? Like, for me, it's the most like 60s of all the movies, in this idea where like you watch like 60 TV and you're just like, what the fuck did I just watch? So yeah, it's not a great movie. It's really dumb, absolutely, but that's the kind of the movie that makes me laugh for bad reasons. Like, I know I laugh at like some TOS. Like, I love Spock's brain because it's fucking dumb and makes me laugh. Makes no
It's also
sense
only 40 minutes.
at all. Yeah, but like if you do that for like an hour and you ump the game on the crazy, I'm gonna buy it. Do I watch it for fun? No, I don't watch any of the TOS except Voyage Home for fun. And yeah, I can tell you that on Twitter it was like, or people fucking love it or people fucking hate it. It's like no middle ground. And I'm like, the game of like, it's bad, yes, but it makes me laugh. So
Yum
I'll
Yum
take
Pod
it.
says release the Shatner cut.
This
Why
is
not?
the Shatner cut.
Why
Dare
not?
you.
Oh jeez, Hawk.
Wow. So this film is interesting in the circumstances that surround it, and that you could have the entire apparatus and that kind of made like the other movies successful, and yet things can pivot and go horribly wrong. I think a lot of it has to do with Shatner, as we've talked about, and like his ego, and this is kind of like the altar at which he worshipped his own ego. And it makes me sad because like it occurred to me that in all the Star Trek TOS films that we actually got, their vision was always a little myopic, in certain regards. And that, we've seen the Klingons, in some aspect, pretty much in nearly all the films, right?
1,
And yet
3, 4, 5, 6.
Six,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
All
Yep.
the movies.
Except for
imagine
Wrath of
if-
Khan.
Yep, except for the Wrath of Khan. Can you imagine if they had devoted Star Trek V to explore what was supposed to be like TOS's main villains, the Romulans, right?
Oh my god, don't fucking tease
I
me
know,
like
I'm sorry.
this.
I know this hurts you to hear it and that, but like it's the truth on that. It's
He didn't even have like a Romulan like outfit. It's so disappointing.
nothing.
Caitlin. Anyway, sorry.
That's okay. But as I said, there was so many veins that they could have explored, especially with like TOS and how vast their lore was, and that for like the amount of episodes that they did.
Yeah.
It suffered from egotism and a myopic vision, and it is what it is. It's here with us, and it will be here forever.
It's here with us, yes. I will start with Yum Yum Pod's comment. The Final Frontier is the film in the franchise I would love to see redone because it has some high and interesting concepts and the occasional great scene, to which I'll say, exactly. This movie fucking sucks. But there are some
Nuggets.
I'm not going to say some. I'm going to say, draft, great word. Nuggets of bright spots. I would love
the
to see
start of a nugget. The start of the idea of a nugget.
some breadcrumbs. Some breadcrumbs. I would love to see this movie remade, and even though I like Nemesis, I'd like to see Nemesis remade because I also think that there's really, really great concepts in that film. Legacy, we'll get to that in our Twitter poll, which kind of shocked me. It's just the 80s were a wonderful time. They were a wonderful time. And that's where I'll leave it. Let's get to the subspace to poll and mailbag.
Hailing frequencies open.
Who wants to take the Star Trek 5 to poll? I'm going to say MC doesn't want to take it. Hawk kind of raising his hand. Okay, do it, my friend.
So we asked Trek Twitter and Threads. It has polls now, but that one is still going. What they thought about Star Trek V, and this is what they had to say. 17.6% said, "What? It's amazing." 52.9% said, "It has its place," which is shocking, right?
Shocking.
52.9.
Shocking.
21% said, "Shaka, no way." And 8.4% said, "Star Trek V is real." On Threads, on Threads at the time of this recording, the poll sat at 13% saying, "What? It's amazing." 50% says it has its place. 38% says Shaka, no way, and 0% right now saying, "Is it real?" So half the community thinks this film
We got a lot of votes on the
belongs.
Twitter poll too, so
It does have its place. It's between two good movies.
People have so much opinion about that movie. It's like cracking me up. When I did the live tweeting, I didn't think anybody would even start to engage with this, but like it
blew up.
Listen, we
Opinions.
have like viewership that we get for like a review episode of New Trek. So like this movie is polarizing as fuck. Let's keep going in the order. Hawk did the poll. Giraffe, can you take Chris's mailbag, please?
Chris. Hey, I have the outline.
No, you
Chris
don't. It's a lie.
wrote, "I like to laugh at bad things, guffaw at the unexplainable, awful choices. Outside of the sound design, these were just space trash. The Pioneer spacecraft cameo was cool, and it showed us the weapons used at the climax of the film," with quotation marks. "I had so many things to poke fun at in this, and now that it's over, it feels just dumb. The ship models were bad, the effects were awful, the dialogue was trash, and Bones is the most Bones
I'll
is the
never
most
forgive you for
annoying
this.
character ever in this." To top it off, that's how it ends? Are you fucking serious? Go climb a rock.
Love it. MC, you didn't make your Go Climb a Rock shirt.
I've been really busy the last couple days,
I
as you know.
I know. Can you take Colin's mailbag, please?
Colin D wrote, "I don't see Star Trek V as that bad. I've said this before, but I don't look with a critic's eye at stories. I just follow the story. I don't analyze. I like that the 4 second-tier cast members had something to do. I enjoyed the over-the-top acting of Lawrence Luckinbill. I always enjoy Uhura's fan dance. And yes, it's not the best of the TOS movies, but I don't hate it. Little bit of trivia. Do you know that Lawrence Luckinbill is Lucille Ball's son-in-law? I did know that.
I found that out because of Giraffe's thread.
And also,
One thing I
he
knew
is
about that
younger.
fucking movie. One thing.
He is younger than Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
But he's the older brother, right?
Yes.
Yep. By the way, we were talking about how like the visuals were so awful in this film, and we were talking about like you could see the strings of the planets. That is what makes the campiness of the original Evil Dead film so amazing, is like you could see the strings on like zombies and shit. Doesn't work for Star Trek. Jedi Cat wrote, "Star Trek V is like a decent episode of TOS season 3. Not the greatest Trek, but it still has its moments, such as the camping scene and the Uhura Scotty romance, which I didn't mind at all. Which I didn't at all mind and wished had been followed through.
Michelle wouldn't have heard of it. She hated it.
The ambitiousness of the film was sadly curtailed by a low budget. Not a low budget, by the way. The 30 million, most expensive Star Trek film to that point. And presumably studio oversight. But Shatner manages to infuse his charm and bring out good performances from the cast. I would agree with the good performances from the cast. The best moments, without question, involve our beloved crew, especially the holy trinity of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. And Luckinball's Sybok is a good second-tier villain. I hope Sybok and Captain Angel will make another appearance in Strange New Worlds. Yes. It may be the worst TOS Trek film, but it's clear that everyone had fun making it, and that goes a long way." I don't know if Leonard Nimoy had fun making this one.
Yeah.
He did not.
Any movie with iconic lines such as "Hold your horse, Captain, I'm scanning," "I need my pain," and "What does God need with a starship?" can't be all bad. And Hawk, can you take us home, please, with Tara's?
Absolutely. Tara wrote, I've gone all out with a limerick for this one. Prepare to be as odd as Shatner's ADs must have been. I recently rewatched Star Trek V for the first time since 1989. Now I regret having done so. Mr. Shatner, this is one I'll always forego. Just warp it straight back to the archive.
Nice. Good way to finish. This was a fun one. I had fun.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to go from here. We're not going to be here next week. We are off for Thanksgiving. So, yeah.
And to recover from this one.
And to recover from this one.
Go to the live stream on Saturday.
Yes. Go to the live stream on
watch,
Saturday.
Yeah.
Don't put.
If you need help finding the ticket, just DM me. I'll help you.
There you go.
Can be a bit tricky.
Don't put turkeys on your head during Thanksgiving. Okay. Don't pull.
Unless that's your thing.
Unless it's your thing, but just don't pull a Monica. Okay. That's it. That's it for this one. Star Trek V in the books. We don't have to do it ever again. That's the plus side of this. I am going to torture Giraffe. We are doing. Oh, I don't know if you're going to come for this one. Star Trek: The Motion Picture in a few weeks. So I know you're like, ah. Anywho, folks, that is going to do it for MC, for Hawk, for Giraffe. I am Julian. Live long and prosper. Sarcastic Vulcan salute. Majram. Good night.
Thanks for beaming into our podcast today. If you want to keep the hailing frequencies open, you can subscribe on Apple and Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. Like what you hear? Put in a good word with Starfleet and leave us a 5-star review.